Hello and welcome to Freedom Through Astrology, where we're giving you the keys. Take two, technical difficulties and catfights. It is freedomthroughastrology.com. I'm your astrologer. My name is Donald Patak. There's my email information. Standard YouTube copyright, and no, my content may not be used to train AI in any way, shape, manner, or form. Keys to the reading, part one. I read what is called constellation-based astrology, also known as true sidereal astrology. It's astrology by the visible sky, which is the way the ancient astrologers used to read. Ancient astrologers used to be astronomers. So I'm looking at where the planets are in the visible sky and reading that. Tropical astrologers fix the signs to seasons way back around 200 AD, and they keep everything stuck there. Unfortunately for them, or fortunately for us, the constellations still move at a very slow rate. That's why we get the age of Pisces and are moving towards the age of Aquarius. So I'm reading astrology by the visible sky. And doing so, we also have 13 signs. Between Scorpio and Sagittarius is the sign of Ophiuchus. It's known as the sign of the wounded healer. The symbol in the sky, or the what have you, is that of a man holding a snake by the head and the tail. Snakes in ancient times symbolize knowledge. So you're holding a snake by the head and the tail, you're controlling knowledge, or you're using knowledge. And the various mythos are that he was using that knowledge to learn how to heal himself so he could heal others with similar wounds. So it's the symbol of the wounded healer. I also use the natural size of the constellations because they are all different sizes in the visible sky. Virgo is huge at just under 50 degrees in the sky, versus Aries, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, Fucus. Those individually are less than 25 degrees apiece. Constellations are all different sizes, and I honor that. And I also use the astrological midpoints as opposed to the IAU boundaries. The IAU boundaries are arbitrarily drawn, and you can find stars from one constellation over the border and into a different constellation. Athan Shementi noted that when he was looking really close at the boundary of Scorpio and Ophiuchus, stars from Scorpio were actually over the border in Ophiuchus. So we looked at the zodiac belt, or the ecliptic, found the last bright star of Scorpio, first bright star of Ophiuchus, what was the midpoint, and found out everything, and he saw that everything worked out nice, and he did that with all the constellations. So I use that. It's more accurate in my opinion. Secondly, I interpret, keys to reading part two, I interpret using evolutionary astrology. The transits are lessons to learn, and within that, you have freedom of choice. They're offering to teach you something, you decide whether you want to learn it or not, or how you're going to work with it. So that's that. This is the weekly edition, so do have some compassion on your fellow Earth travelers. We're all going through the same thing, just in different ways. Dates and cats. Dates and times are based on the Eastern U.S. time zone, as I am outside of Buffalo, New York. I'm operating within 1 degree of being exact. Anything more than that, I'd be overwhelmed. You'd be lost. And the software that I'm using is Capricorn by Prometheus. What in the world is that? Okay, garbage. Okay, so the software is Capricorn by Prometheus, which, if I'm understanding right, and you check the ISAA website, they will be releasing a new version of it or have licensing with it, not sure which. These are the weekly transits for the week of March 23rd through 29th, 2026. The sun is currently in Pisces. Yes, still early, relatively early Pisces at that. The moon this week is in Taurus, begins the week in Taurus and ends in Leo. So actually it's actually the big mover for the week, really. Relatively stable though, because Taurus is relatively big. Gemini's got a couple days in Gemini, and it ends the week in Leo. The only quick days, you got 1 day in Cancer. So without that, the moon is fairly steady. And we do have our first quarter moon in Gemini on March 25th. Hard to believe we're almost out of March. Okay. At 13:55 Eastern time, that's 1:55 p.m. for people who do Eastern time p.m. For people who do not read military time, the active planet for the week, really, it's the sun. There's only one other transit this week when we get to the chart, but Sun is doing virtually everything new this week, and that's the strongest influence. We do have the long transit of Saturn sextiling Pluto, and we'll be feeling that into early April. And we have no retrograde planets. They've all moved on. I would have written about that last week, but I was really sick and out of it and not able to blog every day like I like to. So let's go to our chart and get my doodle tool ready. And as you can see, let's start with the moon. And you can see we start in Monday, Tuesday into Wednesday morning. Before we get into Gemini. Gemini is Wednesday, Thursday, and into Friday morning. Saturday morning, I believe, is Leo, and we end that way. So the moon is actually relatively stable. It's got the most action this week. And we do have that first quarter moon with the moon in Gemini squaring the sun in Pisces. And that'll be happening, like I said, early Wednesday afternoon. And then when we get to these dotted line, anything above the dotted line is from last week. These are holdovers from last week. Anything below is new. So you can see there's actually kind of more going on last week and hanging over than new this week. We do have the sun conjunct Neptune finishing up. Mercury finishing up its transit with the south node of the moon, which is really long, a surprise there. Mars trining Jupiter, and then here's that long transit of Saturn sextiling Pluto, and it goes exact on this upcoming Saturday. So do expect Saturday to be a little bit more intense than your average Saturday. And then new transits, as you can see right here, it's the sun, plus, the beginning of the week with that little bit of, and there you go. There's the sun. Oh, I forgot. New planetary change here. We do have Mars entering Pisces on Friday. Forgot to put that in the main thing. I don't know why things not saving on this computer. Okay. There we go. But these are our transits. Sun conjunct Saturn, sextiling Pluto, and then we have Venus conjunct Chiron Wednesday. So everything really starts Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, ends on Friday. We do get that exact on Saturday, but that's it. It's a very calm week, relatively speaking. Let's clean this up. Let's jump into our transits. Okay. Is there anything else? I have the feeling I'm missing something on this screen. No. Oh well. If it comes to me, it comes to me. So we do have that long transit of Saturn and Pisces sextiling Pluto. So Saturn and Pisces, spiritual maturity, creating an interest in the deep work, doing that work of deep transformation, deep healing. Yeah, so spiritual growth is helping you to face the unconscious and do that work, that deep work of healing. I'm going to go with that. And this can be, again, Saturn. And the thing with Saturn, everybody gets this idea that Saturn is a bad planet. Saturn, if you do the work, rewards you greatly. And Pluto, there are many people, many astrologers I know who look at Pluto being a bad planet. Pluto is about transformation, deep healing. So as you grow spiritually, it helps you do that work of deep inner healing and the work of transformation. The shadow, Saturn can fall into all these cynical fantasies, and nihilistic attitudes, and that self-deception is what that is, can fuel isolation, deep wounding. And I wrote here that self-deception can create its own prison, and which would be Pluto in Capricorn. That's deep wounding and loneliness and isolation. So falling into these cynical fantasies just leaves you feeling isolated and alone. It actually becomes deeply wounding. From Friday, we have Mars in Aquarius trining Jupiter in Gemini. So Mars in Aquarius is having the courage to be an individual, courage to be authentic, supporting what? Your ability to learn and communicate. So you're shedding off, you're having the courage to shed off everybody else's expectations, you're having the courage to be yourself. And this is creating an opportunity for you and opening the doors for you to learn new information, learn new ideas, and learning how to communicate. The shadow is falling into fear and giving into the expectations of others, whether it's fitting into their, fitting into their expectations or acting out. Shadow of Mars is fear, and that can come out as anger or cowardice. So you can be this coward that's trying to fit in with everyone and selling out, or you can fall into that anger and just act out in rebellion. And what does that create? That creates a crisis in confidence in your ability to learn, your ability to think, your ability to communicate. Creates a big mess. We do have the Sun conjunct Neptune. Sun, your core identity conjunct what? Spirituality. Neptune in Pisces. Don't just do something, be there. So your focus is you're learning to be present and in the moment, not in the past, not in the future. Be here, be now, as Ram Dass says so greatly. So focusing on your spiritual identity and being present can help you become more aware of your higher self and who you are at heart. And opening up that inspiration helps you become more engaged with your own life and help you also to realize your own destiny. Get inspired to pursue that. Now, the shadow here can be that out of control ego. Now, this can be that ego that burns too bright. Everybody look at me, and you think you're some sort of spiritual guru. Or you're that person, and I think about that star that refuses to shine and is trying to hide away and falling into either which way, you're falling into this idle fantasy. And you're deceiving yourself. And when you're trying to hide away, you're trying to numb yourself to the pain of living an empty and meaningless life. And finally, from Sunday, we have the moon entering Taurus. Time to take a break, an emotional break, rest, chill out, relax. Take time and find moments of peace and quiet when you can. The shadow here is becoming stubborn and or forceful, and this can leave you feeling exhausted and drained. Monday, no new transits. Take a breath. Remember to exhale, repeat. There will be transits that are completing today. You'll feel them releasing, at least on the 1 degree level. So you'll be experiencing that. Enjoy. Tuesday, the sun will be conjunct Saturn in Pisces. So we have your core identity, your, spotlighting, focusing on what? Maturity and growing. In Pisces, spiritual. So it's focusing on your spirit. You're focusing on your spiritual identity and growing and maturing in it. And it can help you develop a more accurate self-image and also develop self-respect. Saturn is also a bit of a call to action. So it's helping you to do the work that you need to do. And that work in Pisces is learning to be present and in that moment. The shadow is living through the false ego. And this is whether it's burning too bright or not high or not bright enough at all. You're hiding away. And this can fuel failure and a sense of self-pity, desire to control outcomes. That fuels cynicism, pessimism, fuels fear. Those things are all fantasies. So the false ego is living in this fantasy and it's trying to control what it can't. And then we add the sun to the Saturn-Pluto sextile. So we do have that spiritual maturity and you're growing and doing that work. And that is supporting the work of transformation, inner transformation, inner change, deep inner healing. Also recovering what was lost. So focusing on your spirituality and maturity can help you create an interest in facing the unconscious self, integrating your own deep truths, your own inner truth, your inner ideals. And this leads to deep healing, deep transformation, recovery of what you thought was lost. Pluto can be about recovering the lost idea, lost parts of yourself, what you thought was lost or hidden anyways. Yep. And the shadow is falling into that fantasy, becoming that cynical control freak, which that leads to feelings of nervousness, and that leads to deep inner wounding, loneliness, isolation, and what else do I have in here? Yeah, hurtful power trips. This can be all sorts of hurtful power trips result in feeling lonely and isolated. Yeah. And that all can fuel feelings of cynicism and nihilism. Wednesday, the moon enters Gemini. So, time to review emotional scripts and update that information. You're curious, you want to learn what, but learning about your emotional self. And pay attention to what you're feeling and how you're expressing it. So, this is also learning to express your emotional self. The shadow is falling into an intellectualizing everything. That's Gemini. Shadow of Gemini is intellectualizing things that should not be intellectualized, or becoming distracted so you have no idea of what you're feeling or why, and no ability to express it. And on Wednesday, we have that first quarter moon, and that's going to be the moon in Gemini squaring the sun in Pisces. That's still going to be conjunct Saturn. Oh my gosh, and that's still going to be with that sextile. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm wondering if that's going to be any sort of like in conjunction or something to Pluto. Okay, distracted. I don't suffer from ADD, ADHD. I enjoy every minute of it. It just drives everyone else nuts. But as you're learning to you're learning to express yourself emotionally and learning about your emotional skills and emotional intelligence, I would say, that is supporting your spiritual development and your spiritual growth. Squares are challenges that serve as stepping stones to help you grow up and become more skilled in something. Yeah, I think I've covered that. I'm not just going to be re-saying what I already said. The shadow here is that over intellectualization, or refusing to learn can create a stumbling block. The shadow of a square is a stumbling block or a crushing burden that fuels a collapse into the false ego, and it blunts growth. And this is, you're also going to have that conjunction to Saturn here, and that's going to be blocking your spirit, your growth, blocking your ability to develop, and just ruins things. Also on Wednesday, we have Venus conjunct Chiron in Pisces. Venus is your ability to develop relationships with others. It is also, I like to read that as your creative ability. Venus in some of the literature that I'm reading is also your ability to rest and recreation, have fun. So looking at all those things conjunct Chiron, healing. So this is an opportunity to heal relationships, or how can relationships help you to heal, or how can you help others? How can art be a healing experience? And I mean the art, I'm talking about people like drawing and painting, but also music or theater. How are the arts a healing experience? Or how can learning to be present and in the moment be a healing experience? So this is about healing those things. And in Pisces, it's all about being present and finding being involved in that spiritual aspect of yourself. And the shadow here, Venus can be slick and manipulative and controlling, and that leads to shallow relationships. So when you're being slick and manipulative, that's actually wounding relationships and hurting them. They become shallow, superficial, empty, and meaningless. And with the arts, you're doing what everybody else is doing, or you're not even turning to them. You're not learning to express yourself through them. You're not engaging with them. Or instead of taking genuine rest, chilling out and relaxing, you go out and toss one on. You know, I'll be honest, I stayed all up night, all drinking, didn't do me any favors the next day. It's that type of misuse of rest and just whatever. And all those things what you're trying to do is, living in a fantasy, thinking that you can control and manipulate others, or you're trying to numb yourself to the pain and living in an empty and meaningless life. Thursday, no new. We do have the transits going on, but nothing new being added. So do take a break. Remember to exhale, repeat. Friday, the moon enters Cancer, TGIF. Learn to take an opportunity to calm down. Take the time to calm down. Be quiet. Practice self-care. Know when and how to take a break. And open up to the opportunity to heal. And note that this healing can come from others. This is the moon in Cancer as its home sign. So this is about nurturing and healing your emotional needs. And be open to others being able to help you. The shadow is being whiny, refusing to rest, refusing to heal, being defensive, or trying to hide away. And in all those ways, all those things, you become emotionally hurt. And also on Friday, we have Mars entering Pisces. Mars, courage, assertiveness, which sounds very antithetical to being in Pisces, spiritual. But this is being, I was reading up about it, and it's like spiritual warrior. It's having the courage to take on those spiritual tasks and learning to have the strength to take on those spiritual tasks. What else do I have? And it's learning to take on those challenges that lead to spiritual growth and development, and learning to take necessary risks as well. So it's learning to have courage on your spiritual journey. Let's go with that. Your shadow here, Mars falls into fear, and that can come out as anger or it can come out as cowardice. You can be angry and living in these fantasies that everybody's out to get you, and therefore you have to attack first. Or you can be falling into fear and trying every way you can to numb the pain and escape life. Saturday, we have the moon entering Leo, and you're learning here how to express yourself emotionally and be also being willing to be seen and heard. And expect events that may occur where you'll have the opportunity to share what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, and be learning. And this is about learning how to share what's going on in your heart in an appropriate manner. The shadow here is being overly dramatic and falling into over-the-top behavior. It's also could be playing the cowardly lion and trying to hide away. Either way, others see it all as pointless, meaningless drama, as you're projecting a false self. And everybody can read that book. And on Sunday, take a breath. Remember to exhale. Repeat. And there we go. That's our forecast for the week. Do follow me on social media. You're watching this right now on YouTube. I'm hoping to get this up on a few other platforms shortly. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. That's where I post my daily deep dives. I'm hoping that I can get back into that, doing that every day this week or as much as possible this week. Last week, I did catch a bug and spent a lot of time sleeping. But do follow me on Facebook, Instagram, you follow me on YouTube, and there's also the Digital Soul Space where I post. These three here are making billions of dollars off your data, and you're lucky if you're getting any of it. Digital Soul Space is hosted on the Mighty Networks. You control your data, how it can be shared. I think it's how you can be shared, whether it's even attached to you, or if they share data, it's shared anonymously, so they have no idea. But I also call it the spiritual safe space. It's a troll-free zone. 4 great moderators who do a great job of keeping the trolls and fake profiles off the site. Excuse me. And I do astrology on there, but there's crystals, tarot, oracle decks, a wide variety of spiritual traditions. If you're not sure, ask the question. People will share what they know. It's a great group of people. They do mediumship. They do all sorts of things. It's a great place to hang out. There's a free version. There's a paid version. Free version gets you limited access. Paid version gets you unlimited access. It's an awesome place to go and be. I also do readings and if quick six. If you want to see how your chart changes from tropical to true sidereal or true sky astrology, quick six gives you 6 key points and lays the foundation. I also do birth chart or natal chart readings, which in evolutionary astrology is your birth contract. It's who you came here to become. I help you understand the end all goal of your life and what you came here to learn. There's also a karmic or past life reading where if you believe in past lives, there was some karma that happened in a previous life, you're re-experiencing it. I can, in this lifetime, I help you understand what the archetype is and how you may be experiencing it and then how you can heal it. If you're a one and done, this is a special lesson you came here to learn. I also do horoscopes 1 year, any 12 months in a row, any 3 months in a row, or any 1 month. And that can be new moon to new moon, or it can be first of the month to the end of the month. People like it different ways. Fine. And then I do have packages which combine these together at 4 different levels right now. So thank you very much for watching this. Like, follow, share. Pop up on my website. You'll see a link for the newsletter. Do sign up for the newsletter. You get the notification of all this information and other insights that I may share at a later point in time. But all I need is an email address, and you get a once-a-week newsletter. And remember, in the visible sky, your life changes. Thank you very much. Have a great week. And I'm hoping to continue getting these things out for you back on Sundays where you can watch them early. Thank you very much. Have a good week and have a great life.